Questions. My dear friends, today I want to share with you 3 simple tips. So simple that you might even smile and say, "Bus itna hi." But I promise you, if you practice them, questions, they can genuinely change the way you experience life. I always say, simple decisions create a simple life. Confused decisions create a complicated life. So let's keep it simple. Tip F1. Questions upgrade your mindset, not just your lifestyle. These days people upgrade everything. Phone, every year. Laptop, every 2 years. Social media profile, every week. But mindset. Questions. Last updated in 2005. We want a new life with the same old thinking. It's like installing Windows 98 on a brand new MacBook. I remember meeting a young man who said, "Sir, questions. My life is not working." I told him, life is not a machine that stops working. It's the mindset that needs a recharge. Or your lifestyle will follow your mindset, not the other way around. Questions. So how do you upgrade mindset? Read 10 minutes a day. Journal your thoughts. Choose a mentor, not just an influencer. Spend time with people who inspire growth, not gossip. My friends, questions. A small mindset shift can create a huge life shift. One of the biggest problems people face is not lack of skills, it's lack of emotional control. Someone says a small thing and we explode. Questions. Wi-Fi goes off for 2 minutes and we declare the end of civilization. The Uber driver cancels and we reconsider moving to the Himalayas. Once I was traveling and my flight got delayed by 4 hours. Questions. Everyone around me was angry, shouting, complaining. One man even said, "Sir, this is unacceptable." I told him, "Sir, questions. It may be unacceptable, but it is also unavoidable. Our life will challenge you. People will irritate you. Situations will test you. But remember this, you cannot control the waves." Questions. But you can learn to surf. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't react impulsively. So pause. Breathe. Respond mindfully. The person who can manage emotions, questions, can manage relationships, can manage decisions, can manage life. We all want happiness. We chase it. We run behind it like kids chasing the last piece of chocolate. But happiness is strange. Questions. The moment you try to grab it for yourself, it slips away. But when you give it to others, it comes back naturally. Once a lady told me, "Sir, I have everything. Money, house, questions, family. Yet I don't feel fulfilled." I asked her, "When was the last time you made someone else happy without expecting anything in return?" She tried it. Questions. She started helping an elderly neighbor with groceries. One small act. But she told me later, "Sir, that one act gave me more happiness than all my shopping combined." My friends, questions. Service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy on this planet. When you serve, you grow. When you give, you receive. When you light someone's lamp, questions, your own light doesn't dim, it becomes brighter. Help, serve. The world is waiting for your goodness. So my dear friends, remember these 3 tips. Upgrade your mindset. Questions. Manage your emotions. Serve with a smile. They sound simple, but the deepest truths in life are simple. If you practice them even a little bit each day, questions, your life will not just change, it will transform. Thank you so much. Stay happy, stay blessed, stay inspired. Questions. In today's world, we are obsessed with upgrading everything around us. Our gadgets, our wardrobes, our cars, even our social media bios. Every time a new phone comes out, people say, questions. This phone has changed my life. But if you ask them what they changed in themselves this year, they suddenly go silent. Questions. We spend so much time polishing the outside that we forget the engine inside. And my friends, a polished car with a damaged engine cannot take you far. Questions. Upgrading your mindset simply means choosing thoughts, habits, and attitudes that help you grow rather than hold you back. It's not something dramatic. It is not a Hollywood-style transformation. Questions. It doesn't require you to climb mountains or shave your head. It begins with tiny choices. What you read, who you listen to, how you handle situations, and how you view yourself. Questions. Let me give you a small example from daily life. Imagine you wake up in the morning, check your phone, and see a text from your boss saying, "We need to talk." Immediately your heart starts racing. Questions. Your mind jumps to conclusions. What did I do wrong? What will happen now? Will I get fired? That's the old mindset, fear-driven, assumption-based, and reaction-prone. Questions. Now let's apply an upgraded mindset. You see the same message and instead of panicking, you tell yourself, relax. It could be anything. Questions. Let me get ready and face it calmly. One small shift from fear to curiosity, from panic to composure, changes the energy of your entire day. This is mindset upgrade. Another example. Questions. Suppose you're stuck in traffic. The car ahead of you isn't moving, people are honking, and your frustration is rising like steam from a pressure cooker. The old mindset says, questions. This is ruining my day. Why is everyone so slow? Why is this happening to me? But the upgraded mindset says, well, traffic is out of my control. Let me use this time to breathe. Questions. Maybe listen to something inspiring or simply pause. Simple shift. Powerful effect. Most problems in life are not as big as our minds make them. Questions. Our real struggle is not with the situation, but with our thinking about the situation. Let me share a real life scene I once witnessed. Questions. A young man was complaining loudly at a cafe because his coffee wasn't hot enough. He went on and on. This is terrible service, ruining my morning. While he was shouting, questions, an elderly gentleman was sitting quietly at the next table, smiling peacefully. A waiter accidentally spilled a few drops of water near the old man's feet. The young guy expected another explosion. Questions. But instead the old man said, "Airy beta, don't worry, it's just water. Even the ocean spills sometimes. Same environment, same cafe, same imperfect service, but very different reactions." Questions. Why? Because one had an upgraded mindset, the other had an outdated one. You see, mindset determines how you interpret life, not life itself. People often ask questions. But how do I upgrade my mindset? Start small. Start daily. Start now. Read a few pages of a good book every day. Not because you have to sound intellectual. Questions, but because reading exposes you to thoughts better than the ones you currently have. A good book is not just paper and ink, it is borrowed wisdom. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Questions. You cannot fly like an eagle if you sit with crows all day. Choose conversations that feed your mind, not drain it. Questions. Even 10 minutes with the right person can do more for your mindset than 10 years with the wrong crowd. Observe your daily thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Questions. Is it taking me forward or pulling me back? A mindset upgrade begins the moment you take responsibility for your thoughts. Not everything in life can be changed. Questions. But how you view it, how you respond to it, that is entirely in your hands. Think of your mind as a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will grow on their own. In the same way, questions. If you don't consciously choose positive, empowering thoughts, old outdated patterns, fear, doubt, jealousy, negativity will take over automatically. Let me give you a simple example. Questions. If someone gets success before you, the old mindset says, "We're not me. Life is unfair." But the upgraded mindset says, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. Questions. They are showing me what's achievable. What a beautiful shift. Life becomes peaceful when your mindset becomes stronger than your emotions. Questions. Life becomes meaningful when your mindset becomes wiser than your habits. Life becomes successful when your mindset becomes bigger than your fears. One young man once told me, "Sir, questions. I want to change my life." I asked, "What are you doing to change your thoughts?" He said, "Nothing much." I smiled and replied, "Questions. Then it's like wanting to learn swimming without entering water." My friends, no change outside lasts unless change inside begins. Upgrading your mindset is not a one-day task. Questions. It is a daily practice. But if you do it slowly, consistently, your relationships improve, your career improves, your confidence grows, and your peace deepens. Don't just upgrade your wardrobe. Questions. Upgrade your wisdom. Don't just upgrade your phone, upgrade your focus. Don't just upgrade your lifestyle, upgrade your life view. Because when you upgrade your mindset, questions, your entire life updates automatically. Questions. In life, we often believe that success depends on talent, opportunities, or hard work. But there is something far more powerful that silently shapes our relationships, our decisions, questions, and even our destiny, our emotions. Emotional management is not about suppressing how you feel. It is about handling your feelings in a way that protects your peace instead of destroying it. Questions. Many people lose friendships, jobs, and even their own self-respect not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack emotional control. Let's begin with a simple daily example. Questions. Imagine you wake up in the morning, rushing to get ready for work. You're already running late. Suddenly your toothpaste drops on your shirt, white marks all over your clean clothes. Questions. The old emotional pattern reacts immediately. Why does this always happen to me? What a horrible day. And within 5 seconds, your entire day is declared ruined. Questions. But think about it. Did the toothpaste ruin your day, or did your reaction ruin your day? An upgraded emotional response would say, okay, this is irritating but not life-ending. Let me change. Questions. Breathe and continue. A 2-minute inconvenience doesn't have the right to spoil your 24 hours unless you give it permission. Questions. Another example many people can relate to is dealing with rude individuals. Imagine you're in a queue at a supermarket, standing patiently. Someone comes from behind, cuts in front of you, questions, and pretends they didn't notice. Immediately your blood starts boiling. Your mind says, show them. Say something, teach them manners, but just pause, think for a moment. What will arguing do? Questions. It will waste your energy, your time, your peace, and probably won't change the person. I'm not saying don't speak up. I'm saying speak up without losing yourself. Questions. There's a big difference between responding and reacting. Reaction is emotional, response is thoughtful. Once I saw a man yelling at a cashier because his bill had a small error. He shouted, questions. This is unbelievable. Are you even trained? Do you know how to do your job? The cashier, a young girl, simply smiled, apologized politely, corrected the bill, and continued working. Questions. A lady watching this said to her, how do you handle such rude people without losing your cool? The cashier replied, Mom, if someone hands you garbage, questions, you don't have to put it in your pocket. What wisdom! People will throw their frustration at you, but you don't have to accept it. Questions. Emotional management means staying calm even when others lose their calm. Think of emotions like waves in the ocean. You can't stop waves from coming, but you can learn to surf without drowning. Questions. Happiness, anger, frustration, excitement, disappointment. These waves will come, but how you ride them determines whether you enjoy the ocean or fear it. Let's look at relationships. Questions. Almost every fight in relationships, whether between spouses, siblings, or even colleagues, starts not because of what happened, but because of how we reacted. Someone said something slightly hurtful. Questions. Instead of clarifying, gently we exploded. Instead of listening, we assumed. Instead of pausing, we attacked. And then the situation becomes a battleground of egos. One evening, questions. A husband returned home tired from work. His wife asked him why he didn't call all day. Instead of calmly explaining, he snapped, I'm tired, okay? Stop nagging me. The wife heard questions, said something defensive. The husband reacted again. And within minutes, what could have been a peaceful evening turned into complete chaos. All because of unmanaged emotions. Questions. Now imagine the same situation with emotional control. The husband says, sorry, I should have called. It was a hectic day. Questions. I didn't mean to worry you. Immediately the energy of the situation changes. One gentle response can stop a storm before it begins. Managing emotions doesn't mean you become a robot. Questions. It means you become wise. It means you understand that anger is natural, but attacking people is optional. Being upset is human, but hurting others because of your mood is harmful. Questions. Feeling sad is normal, but sinking into hopelessness is preventable. Another beautiful example is children. Children get angry, scream, cry, and create drama. Questions. But adults don't get affected because we know they're children. We understand their emotional immaturity. But what happens when adults behave like children? We get angry, defensive, and retaliate. Questions. Why? Because we expect maturity from others, but forget to practice emotional maturity ourselves. Questions. A simple technique to manage emotions is the pause principle. When you feel an emotional surge, anger, irritation, jealousy, just pause. Take a deep breath. Give your mind 10 seconds. Questions. That tiny pause can save you from sending a rude text, saying something hurtful, or making a regrettable decision. Think of how many times you said something in anger and regretted it later. Questions. Think of how many relationships broke because someone reacted without thinking. Think of how many opportunities were lost because emotions took control. The truth is, questions. Emotional management is not just a skill, it's an art. And like all art, it gets better with practice. When you manage your emotions, you gain power. When you lose your emotions, you lose power. Questions. The strongest person in the room is not the loudest one. It is the one who stays calm when others crumble. Your peace is priceless. Questions. Don't hand it over to situations or people who don't deserve that much control over your life. When you learn how to manage your emotions, questions, you don't just change your reactions, you change your relationships, your decisions, your mental health, and ultimately your entire life. Questions. Emotional management is the greatest self-gift you can give yourself. Because when your emotions work for you instead of against you, everything in life starts flowing with ease. Questions. There is a beautiful truth in life: happiness grows when it is shared. Questions. Most people spend their lives chasing happiness as if it's hiding somewhere in a distant corner of the world, perhaps in a new phone, a new car, a bigger house, or a fancy vacation. Questions. But happiness is not a treasure to be hunted. It is a fragrance that spreads naturally when we do something good for someone else. Questions. Serving others, whether through big acts or tiny gestures, has the magical ability to lift our mood, calm our heart, and give us a sense of purpose that nothing material can offer. Questions. Let me share a simple daily example. Imagine you're walking into your office and you see the security guard who stands for hours, greeting every person with a polite nod. You smile at him and say, questions. Good morning, how are you today? Just a few seconds, just one line. But you'll notice something beautiful: his face lights up, and strangely yours does too. It cost you nothing. Questions. But it created positive energy for both of you. That is service. Not every act of service requires money. Many require only kindness. Service isn't always about changing the world. Questions. Sometimes it's about changing someone's moment. Think about your home. Your mother or wife or someone in the family cooks for you every day. Most people eat, leave the plate in the sink, questions, and move on. But what if one day you say, let me help you today? You take a break. Or maybe you wash the dishes yourself. You will notice two things instantly. First, questions. Their heart will soften with gratitude. Second, your own heart will feel unexpectedly lighter. Why? Because doing something for others connects you to your better self. Another common example, questions. Imagine your friend has had a stressful day. They are upset, irritated, and complaining about everything. Most people will say, yeah, questions. Tum hamisha complain kart rehti ho. But service is when you sit with them, listen without judgment, and say, I'm here for you. Tell me what's bothering you. Just this. Often questions. People don't need solutions, they just need presence. Your presence can be a service. And here is the interesting part. Whenever you help someone else smile, your own stress reduces. Questions. Science proves it, spirituality proves it, and experience proves it even more. Let me share a heart-touching real-life moment. One day, I met a young girl outside a temple. She was selling pens. Questions. Not fancy pens, just simple cheap ones. She was struggling to make a living, but she had the brightest smile. I bought a few pens from her and asked questions. How do you smile so much even while going through all this? She replied, Sir, when people see me smile, they feel lighter. They buy more. They talk kindly. If I cry, no one will care. Questions. But when I smile, I serve their hearts. And my heart also feels peaceful. What wisdom from a little girl. This is the power of serving with a smile. She wasn't rich. She wasn't educated. Questions. But her heart was wealthy. Service is not about the size of the act. It's about the size of the heart behind the act. Some people say, I want to serve society. Questions. But I don't have time. You don't need extra time. You need a little extra intention. You serve when you let someone merge on the road instead of honking aggressively. Questions. You serve when you comfort a stressed colleague instead of criticizing them. You serve when you forgive someone who hurt you, because peace is more important than ego. Questions. You serve when you choose patience over anger with your children. You serve when you compliment someone sincerely. You serve when you celebrate others' success instead of competing with them. Questions. Small acts, big impact. Service has an amazing side effect. It pulls us out of our own anxieties. When we're constantly thinking, my problem, my stress, my tension, the burden feels heavy. Questions. But when we look around and help someone else, even in a tiny way, our attention shifts. And for a moment, we forget our own pain. That moment becomes healing. There's a saying, questions. If you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else. It is true. A friend once told me he was going through a very low phase. Everything seemed wrong. Family issues, job pressure, questions, health problems. He was sinking into negativity. Then one day he decided to volunteer at an orphanage. He spent just 2 hours playing with the kids, talking to them, laughing with them. Questions. When he came out, he told me, Sir, those kids healed me more than any doctor or counselor. I went there to serve them, but I felt like they served me. That is the beauty of service. Questions. You think you're giving, but you end up receiving far more. Serving others also grows your humanity. It softens your heart, sharpens your compassion, and purifies your intentions. Questions. When you help others, even in small ways, your ego dissolves. You stop asking, what's in it for me? And start asking, how can I help? And somewhere in that transition, questions, you discover the real meaning of life. Try this experiment for 1 week. Do one small act of service every day. Help someone, compliment someone, support someone, uplift someone. Questions. And notice how your heart feels. You will sense a quiet joy, a gentle brightness, and a natural smile that comes from within, not from achievements but from kindness. So keep serving, keep smiling. Questions. Even if you can't change everything in the world, you can always change something for someone. And that something, no matter how small, creates ripples that reach further than you can imagine. Questions. Serve with your hands, serve with your time, serve with your words, serve with your presence. Because when you serve from the heart, questions, you don't just make others' lives better, you make your life meaningful. Questions. Every person on this planet is searching for peace. Some look for it in vacations, some in relationships, some in success, some in silence. But the truth is simple. Peace is not found in a place, questions, a person or a possession. Peace begins inside you, and the foundation of that inner peace is emotional control. If you cannot handle your own emotions, questions, even the most peaceful environment will feel chaotic. And if you can handle your emotions, even the most chaotic environment will feel manageable. Take a simple daily example. Questions. Imagine you are going to work in the morning. You're in a good mood, feeling positive, maybe thinking of a good plan for the day. Suddenly, on the road, a driver cuts you off rudely. Questions. Your immediate emotional reaction might be anger. What the hell? How dare he? Your heart rate rises, your jaw tightens, and your entire internal environment gets disturbed. Questions. The outside situation lasted only 3 seconds, but the storm inside you continues for 30 minutes or sometimes the whole day. Now ask yourself, did that driver spoil your day? Questions. Or did your uncontrolled emotions spoil it? This is why emotional control is not just a skill, it is protection. Instead of giving every situation the remote control of your peace, questions, you take charge of your internal world. Another example. Imagine you've worked very hard on a presentation and you show it to your boss. Instead of appreciating your effort, questions, he points out a small mistake and says, "This needs improvement." Your reaction can go two ways. The uncontrolled emotional response says, "He doesn't value my work. I'm not good enough." Questions, "Everything I do is wrong." This mood stays with you, affects your performance, and drains your confidence. But with emotional control, your response becomes, "Okay, I'll correct it." Questions, "One comment doesn't define my ability." A two-sentence shift, but a completely different experience. Emotional control is not about pretending that things don't hurt. Questions, it's about not letting the hurt become your identity. It's about learning to respond instead of reacting. Think of a pressure cooker. When it whistles, steam comes out. That steam is your emotion. Questions. If you try to block it completely, the cooker will burst. If you let it out wisely, it will release pressure safely. Similarly, managing emotions doesn't mean hiding them. Questions. It means expressing them with maturity. In relationships, emotional control is more precious than diamonds. You can have all the love in the world, but if you lack emotional stability, questions, misunderstandings grow like weeds. Think of a couple arguing over something small. Maybe one forgot to call, or one spent too much time on their phone. The issue is small, but if anger takes over, questions, if ego walks in, if hurtful words fly out, the emotional damage becomes huge. Most relationships do not suffer from lack of love. They suffer from lack of emotional maturity. Questions. Let's take a real life example many of us have experienced. A child accidentally spills a glass of water at home. The parent, already stressed from work, bursts out, "Why can't you be careful?" Questions. You always create a mess. The child's face falls. The confidence shrinks. The innocence gets overshadowed by fear. But what actually happened? Only a glass of water spilled. Questions. The rest was the parent's emotional imbalance. Now imagine the same situation with emotional control. The parent breathes, holds the child gently, and says, "It's okay, accidents happen." Questions. Let's clean it together. The difference is not in the event. The difference is in the emotion. Emotional control doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Anyone can raise their voice. Questions. Anyone can react impulsively, but it takes strength to stay calm. It takes inner power to choose peace when anger is available. It takes clarity to think before speaking. Think of monks, sages, questions, or peaceful leaders. They don't have peaceful lives, they have peaceful minds. That is emotional mastery. Here is another daily example. You're working on something important. Questions. Suddenly your internet stops functioning. Instead of calmly checking the router, your mind starts shouting, "Ooh, why does this always happen to me?" You get irritated, walk around the house, questions, complain about everything. But does the internet come back faster because you got angry? No. The only thing that changes is your mental state. You lose calmness, clarity, and energy. Questions. Emotional control teaches you to rise above temporary disturbances. When small things stop affecting you, big things stop breaking you. A powerful way to build emotional control is through awareness. Questions. When you feel anger rising, simply name it. I am feeling angry. When you feel jealous, say, this is jealousy, not reality. When you feel anxious, tell yourself, questions. This is a temporary feeling, not the truth. When you label your emotion, you separate yourself from it. The moment you separate from it, you gain control over it. Another method is pausing. Questions. Before responding to anything emotional, take 5 seconds. That pause is not empty, it is powerful. In those 5 seconds, your brain shifts from reaction to reason, and reason always leads to peace. Questions. Emotional control is like having a strong foundation in a building. If the foundation is weak, even a small earthquake will cause damage. But if the foundation is strong, questions, even a big storm cannot shake it. Life will always throw challenges. People will disappoint you. Situations will test you. But when you choose emotional stability, questions, nothing from the outside can break you from the inside. Because once your emotions are managed, your peace becomes unshakable. And when your peace becomes unshakable, you become unstoppable. Questions. Life is made up of moments, millions of little moments where we either react or respond. And the quality of our life depends heavily on which one we choose. Reacting is automatic. Questions. It comes from impulse, emotion, and habit. Responding is conscious. It comes from awareness, understanding, and wisdom. When we react instantly, we often regret. When we respond thoughtfully, questions, we create harmony inside ourselves and with others. Think about a very common situation. You're sitting at home, relaxing after a long day, questions, and suddenly someone in the family says something slightly irritating. Maybe they comment on the way you arranged something, or they bring up an issue you don't want to discuss. Questions. Immediately the mind says, say something back, defend yourself, show them they're wrong. And before you even realize it, words come out, sharp, fast, uncontrolled. 5 seconds of reaction. Questions, but it takes 5 hours or even 5 days to repair the tension created in that moment. Now imagine the same moment, but handled differently. You hear the irritating comment, questions. You feel the emotional surge inside. But instead of speaking instantly, you pause. Even a 2-second pause. You breathe. And then you speak from calmness, not from anger. Maybe you say, questions. I understand your point, but let's talk about it more peacefully. That tiny gap between the stimulus and your response becomes the difference between conflict and connection. Questions. This is the power of conscious responding. Let's look at another daily example. Your phone. Imagine someone sends you a rude message or an aggressive WhatsApp text. Questions. Your immediate reaction is to type an equally sharp reply. The mind is like a lawyer preparing a case. Let me show them. But if you send that message, what follows? More arguments, questions, more misunderstanding, more negativity. But when you practice responding consciously, you read the message, you notice your emotion, and you tell yourself, questions. Let me reply later when I am calm. Many times, by the time you revisit the message, your entire reaction softens. What felt like a mountain earlier now feels like a small hill. Questions. Responding consciously saves relationships. Reacting impulsively destroys them. Let's take a workplace example. You're in a meeting and your colleague disagrees with your idea. Not politely, questions, but bluntly, something inside you feels attacked. Instantly your heart wants to respond. You always do this, questions. You never support me. But reactiveness turns a professional discussion into a personal battlefield. Now imagine taking a breath, staying calm, and saying, that's an interesting perspective. Questions. Let's evaluate both options. Not only do you maintain professionalism, but you also gain respect. People trust those who can stay composed even when challenged. Reacting is easy. Questions. Responding is enlightenment. One of the wisest habits you can develop for conscious responding is the pause. Even a 3-second pause has the power to change outcomes. In those 3 seconds, questions. Your mind shifts from the emotional brain to the logical brain, from heat to coolness, from attack to clarity. Here is a powerful story. Once a man approached Buddha and started insulting him. Questions. He used harsh words, accusing tones, and disrespectful language. Buddha listened silently. When he finished, Buddha smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it," questions. To whom does the gift belong? The man replied, "To the one who offered it." But Buddha gently said, "I do not accept your insults." Questions. They belong to you. This is the highest level of responding consciously, choosing not to take things personally. Another daily example, you're at a grocery store. The cashier is slow, tired, questions, maybe even slightly rude. Many people would react instantly. "Can you hurry up? Why are you taking so long?" But conscious responding says, "This person might be tired." Questions, let me be kind. You smile softly, give them patience, and walk away with peace instead of irritation. One moment of understanding saves you from an entire day of agitation. Questions. Responding consciously also affects how we talk to ourselves. Sometimes something goes wrong, a plan fails, a mistake happens, a decision backfires. The reactive mind says, "I'm so stupid." Questions. "I always mess up." But the conscious mind responds differently. "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it." This single shift builds confidence instead of crushing it. Questions. Let's take another example involving children. Kids naturally make noise, break things, spill food, jump around, and test patience. An instant reaction might be shouting, "Stop it." Questions. "Can't you behave?" But a conscious response would be kneeling down, looking into their eyes, and explaining calmly. Questions. This not only guides them better, but also strengthens your relationship with them. Children don't learn from shouting, they learn from presence. Questions. Responding consciously transforms your emotional environment. Then your mind becomes lighter. Then your relationships become healthier. Then your home becomes peaceful. Then your work becomes smoother. Questions. Your heart becomes calmer. People often think responding consciously means being slow or weak. But in truth, it is a sign of strength. Questions. It means you are not controlled by circumstances. You are controlled by your wisdom. Anyone can hit back. Anyone can argue. Anyone can shout. But it takes inner growth to remain thoughtful. Questions. Remember this simple truth: instant reactions are born from past pain. Conscious responses are born from present awareness. When you choose to respond consciously, questions, you take power back into your own hands. You become the creator of your peace, not the victim of your emotions. You protect your dignity, strengthen your relationships, questions, and build a life that feels calmer, wiser, and more aligned with who you truly want to be. The world doesn't need more emotional reaction. It needs more mindful response.